Hello all, if you don't already know this, Rubio Monocoat is a very popular finish among woodworking YouTubers. After a recent disaster with wipe on polyurethane, I decided to give Rubio Monocoat a shot. I had a 3-inch token for a game sanded to about 320 grit already, but I'd heard from all the YouTubers that you're not supposed to sand over 180 grit with Rubio Monocoat, so I sanded my token back down to 180 before applying the Rubio Monocoat. Because of the token's size and shape, I had to do the sanding by hand. I mention this because most folks on YouTube use Rubio Monocoat for tabletops and get to use an orbital sander. However, because I sanded my workpiece by hand, I saw every single scratch from sanding after applying the Rubio Monocoat. So I reached out to Rubio Monocoat asking if at least on the end grain can a higher grit be used. They said no, the oil won't penetrate properly if sanded with anything over 150, though they recommend using 120. Both of these are even less than the 180 I used on my token. So this video is a test of just end grain comparing 120 to 320. As you can see, I sanded each grit extremely thoroughly and even did a water pop before the last round of each grit. I'm not a great cameraman, so it's not nearly as obvious on video as it is in person, but there are lots of very obvious scratches from the 120 grit that I tried to point out with a dental pick there. The 320 grit is a very different story. I think there are some very minor visible scratches in person, but I can't really see them at all in video. In the interest of keeping the video short, I didn't record the application of the oil, but I did follow the instructions from Rubio Monocoat. After the oil cured for about a week, I took another look and found somewhat surprising results. The scratches from the 320 grit are actually more obvious in person than they were before. They still don't really show up at all that much on camera, but they're pretty obvious in person. As expected, the scratches from the 120 grit are still very obvious after the oil cured. Like the 320 grit, I think they're even more obvious than before, and unlike the 320 grit, they're pretty visible in the video. So what does this mean? Is Rubio Monocoat pretty much useless on projects that you have to sand by hand? If the oil actually doesn't penetrate properly above 150 grit, then yeah, I think so. However, I find that pretty hard to believe, so in order to make use of what I've already bought, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make the scratches invisible and only utilize Rubio Monocoat on products that will go to willing test subjects.